Namaskar viewers, hello and welcome to Sansad TV. I'm Tina Jha, you're watching Perspective. Prime Minister Narendra Modi welcomed German Chancellor Friedrich Merz in Ahmedabad as the Chancellor began his two-day official visit to India from 12th to 13th of January. This marks Chancellor Merz's maiden visit to India and notably his first visit to Asia since assuming office. He is accompanied by a high-level delegation which include 23 leading German CEOs and industry leaders, underlining the strong economic focus of this visit. The visit began on a symbolic note with Prime Minister Modi and Chancellor Merz paying floral tributes at the statue of Mahatma Gandhi at the historic Sabarmati Ashram. The two leaders also took part in Gujarat's renowned International Kite Festival, with visuals capturing the visiting dignitary even trying his hand at flying a kite. This was followed by one-on-one and delegation-level talks during which both leaders called for giving fresh momentum to India-Germany ties and further elevating the strategic partnership. The discussions spanned the key pillars of cooperation: defense and security, trade and economic relations, technology and innovation, research and education, green energy, skill development, mobility and people-to-people exchanges. Several important MoUs were exchanged and announcements made across diverse sectors aimed at creating new opportunities for businesses, people and the two economies.
भारत और जर्मनी के बीच ऐतिहासिक और गहरे पीपल टू पीपल टाइज हैं। रविन्द्रनाथ टैगोर की रचनाओं ने जर्मनी के बौद्धिक जगत को नई दृष्टि दी। स्वामी विवेकानंद की विचारधारा ने जर्मनी सहित पूरे यूरोप को प्रेरित किया और मैडम कामा ने जर्मनी में पहली बार भारत की आजादी का ध्वज फहराकर हमारी स्वतंत्रता की आकांक्षाओं को वैश्विक पहचान दी। आज हम इस ऐतिहासिक जुड़ाव को आधुनिक साझेदारी का रूप दे रहे हैं। माइग्रेशन, मोबिलिटी और स्किलिंग बढ़ाने पर विशेष बल दिया गया है। भारत की टैलेंटेड युवा शक्ति जर्मनी की अर्थव्यवस्था में महत्वपूर्ण योगदान दे रही है। आज ग्लोबल स्किल्स पार्टनरशिप पर जारी जॉइंट डिक्लेरेशन ऑफ इंटेंट इसी भरोसे का प्रतीक है। इससे खास तौर पर हेल्थ केयर प्रोफेशनल्स की आवाजाही आसान होगी। आज हमने खेलों के क्षेत्र में भी सहयोग को आगे बढ़ाने के लिए ठोस कदम उठाए हैं। यह युवाओं को जोड़ने का एक प्रभावी माध्यम बनेगा। आज हायर एजुकेशन पर बना कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव रोडमैप शिक्षा के क्षेत्र में हमारी साझेदारी को नई दिशा देगा। मैं जर्मन विश्वविद्यालयों को भारत में अपने कैंपस खोलने के लिए आमंत्रण देता हूं। भारतीय नागरिकों के लिए वीजा फ्री ट्रांजिट की घोषणा के लिए मैं चांसलर मर्ज का आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। इससे दोनों देशों के लोगों के बीच नजदीकियां और बढ़ेगी। मुझे खुशी है कि गुजरात के लोथल में बनाए जा रहे नेशनल मैरीटाइम हेरिटेज कॉम्प्लेक्स से जर्मन मैरीटाइम म्यूजियम जुड़ रहा है। यह दोनों देशों की मैरीटाइम हिस्ट्री को जोड़ने वाला ऐतिहासिक कदम है। ट्रेडिशनल मेडिसिन के क्षेत्र में गुजरात आयुर्वेद यूनिवर्सिटी का जर्मनी के साथ करीबी सहयोग रहा है। इस महत्वपूर्ण विषय पर आज किए जा रहे एमओयू से हमारा सहयोग को और अधिक बल मिलेगा।
So we'll talk about how these agreements signed reshape India-Germany cooperation, also what new opportunities they open up for industry, innovation and people on both sides. To discuss this further, we are joined by two eminent experts. I'm pleased to welcome on the program today Ambassador Gurjeet Singh, former Indian Ambassador to Germany. Ambassador, thank you for your time. Welcome to the program. Also joining us is Professor Gulshan Sachdeva, School of International Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University. Professor, thank you for your time as well. Welcome to this telecast. So the list of outcomes released following the delegation level talks includes 27 items, 19 MoUs and agreements and 8 key announcements across a range of areas from defense and security to technology and innovation, also Indo-Pacific, areas like education, skill and mobility and so on. We'll try and cover some of the major ones on the program as well, and also talk about the newer opportunities that it creates for people on both sides. However, let's begin the program by talking about the significance of this visit first in context of India, Germany completing 25 years of strategic partnership in 2025 and also commemorating 75 years of diplomatic relations in 2026. Ambassador, to you first, how would you describe the evolution in India-Germany ties over the decades?
Thank you, Tina. First, you mentioned 27 announcements and agreements. For a visit which had so little hype behind it, so many agreements and such a comprehensive joint statement, in diplomatic terms, this is called a success. Secondly, now you asked me about the context. Yes, you mentioned the 75th anniversary of diplomatic relations and the silver jubilee of strategic partnership. India and Germany have been an ongoing partnership. What we do to see today is an effort to create stability and balance in a world which over the last 1 year has totally disrupted. And not only is geopolitics disrupted, friendships are disrupted, trust is missing, and supply chains are in disorder. So in all this, India and Germany have tried very hard to show that middle powers can bring an element of stability which the world is looking forward to, and multilateralism is not dead. Both in EU and in the Indo-Pacific, there are very clear ideas on how India and Germany would go ahead.
Okay, before we proceed on to the outcomes, Professor, your perspective on how have India and Germany adapted to the global shifts? We can trace the journey perhaps from post-Cold War era to today's supply chain and technology-led geopolitics. Ambassador spoke about how we are now converging in various sectors. There are newer areas in which we are cooperating. There is potential also on which we are progressing. But the key question here is, it's a significant visit coinciding with two landmark years that we are celebrating: 25 years of strategic partnership, 75 years of our diplomatic ties. Take us through, how do you see both countries having adapted to various level of shifts in geopolitics?
Well, thank you, Tina, for having me. Already as Ambassador mentioned, we have solid partnership. There is a solid institutional mechanism to support this partnership. You mentioned 25 years of strategic partnership. But if you look forward, today, I think India, in its ambition to become Viksit Bharat developed economy by 2047, has clearly identified Europe as a partner in areas like trade, investment, technology, and green transition. And within Europe, Germany being the largest economy within the European Union and also within Europe, this is definitely a very important milestone in India-Germany relationship. And even from the German perspective, Germany and even many other European member states of the EU, for the last many years, the economic focus was really on China. And of course, they do have still very large trade and economic investment partnership with China. But I think the charm is gone. And transatlantic partnership obviously is under serious stress. So, and in the last 4 years, if you can look at German economy, this is in recession. And even the next 1 or 2 years, still there's going to be very limited growth. The base of the German economy was really manufacturing and manufacturing related exports. Now, in manufacturing, they are facing serious challenges from China. So they are really looking to diversify their economy, into digitization of the economy, into the service economy, into more into perhaps the financial sector and other sector. And there they feel that India being a large, pretty big economy, and also growing very fast, and it's also converging many interests in many other areas. And in this kind of, of course, India cannot perhaps, immediately replace what they can really sell and invest in China or the United States. But still, there is a very good, promising signs if they can really work with India and then develop certain diversification from Chinese economy and others. And I think in that context, I think this visit was very useful. And now, in fact, they are also investing quite a lot in their, defense industry. There is a new approach toward defense, not just only pressure from Trump administration, but within Europe itself, they want to develop their own defense. And Germany being the biggest economy within Europe has to play a very important role if they have to develop their serious defense industry within Europe. And within that, we have our own Make in India kind of, modernization, defense modernization plan. And this was again one area which was clearly identified, and many agreements and discussions that took place. And I think there's a lot of promise in that area, that it's not just only that India would be buying certain submarines, etc., in the months or years to come, but maybe we can actually develop certain co-production in which it's not just only buying something from Germany, but we can also contribute more the defense industry which they are going to build in Germany and in Europe. So I think already there is a solid partnership, already there is a solid institutional mechanism. And this particular visit, as this was just the first visit in Asia and first visit outside Europe and the United States, so obviously they are looking more seriously towards India.
Professor, since you mentioned this is the first visit of the German Chancellor to India, but notably to Asia as well. This point was underlined by Prime Minister Modi earlier in the speech. I heard the Foreign Secretary also make a mention about how this is not just his first visit to India, but also to the continent as well. Does this send a unique message, not just in the context of bilateral relationship, but also in the global context, that he's chosen Asia as the first foreign destination since assuming office? Is there more to interpret?
Well, definitely, because if they are looking towards India beyond Europe and United States, so obviously one would have actually expected the way their solid, trade and economic partnership they have with China. Mm-hmm. China, of course, is a 5 times larger economy than India, but, they have, roughly 8 or 9 times more goods trade with China. So what they are really looking now is that if there is a certain diversification, if the FTA takes place, if some other mechanisms are in place, so there is a lot of possibility that Indian companies and German companies can produce much more, not just only for their own bilateral thing, but also, for third countries as well. So I think there's a very clear geopolitical message. There is also economic and strategic, I would say, message choosing India for his first visit outside Europe and the United States. And one should not really underestimate that kind of statement and that kind of visit.
Okay, Ambassador, from a strategic viewpoint, what are some of the important MoUs that you see as game changers, particularly in the area of defense and security and technology and innovation?
In the joint statement, I was tickled to see that the first lead position is given to defense and security cooperation. Now, there's a lot of hype about India ordering German submarine, but that is not mentioned because the negotiations for that are not complete. So you set that aside, but there is a very positive movement towards more exchanges, more exercises, more participation by German ships and planes in Indian exercises, and the setting up of a track 1.5 foreign and security policy dialogue. So there is much more engagement by Germany. They're even putting an officer in the IFC in Gurgaon. So as part of Germany's Indo-Pacific policy, India is the key. And I think that is what makes this visit and its defense and security aspect very important. Now, Professor Sachdev has already mentioned, but Germany has $500 billion allocated to new defense production. Now, German industry is looking at this to become profitable once again. But Germany does not have the skills or the wherewithal to do all this by themselves. So, a trusted partner where you could have the skills and the ambience to produce is India. So, as Prime Minister Modi said, we should look at joint development and joint production of defense related electronics and equipment, which will help the defense industrial complex in Germany. And that is why in your list that you are showing, there is a very clear statement of intent on this. I think besides this, you also should look at how many new German companies are likely to come, because I think here it is not important what they have done with China or what they are suffering with the US. These relationships are very deep for them and cannot be brushed away. But the expansion and the deepening of the relationship with India is the big story out of this comprehensive visit on this occasion.
Absolutely. After defense and security, the other big area that has been highlighted in the joint statement, Professor, is trade and economy, which forms the bedrock between bilateral relations between any country. From an economic lens, what are some of the key announcements, agreements that you think have the most potential to unlock the trade, investment, most importantly, cater the area of job creation?
Well, one, of course, is the major area in which everybody is really looking forward is that the negotiation on the India-EU FTA. And I think in the statement itself, and when they were also speaking to the business people, they also mentioned the same thing. I mean, they fully support, and Germany has been the major supporter of India-EU FTA. And they are really pushing for this. This was also mentioned when their foreign minister was visiting India. So I think both, there are certain, there is a real possibility this time that when the India-EU summit is going to take place by the end of this month, we might have conclusion of, or very close to a conclusion of those negotiations. Now that, even if it may not be as comprehensive as perhaps was envisioned earlier by the European Union, but now the geopolitics, the way it's unfolding, is also pushing both India and the European Union to go for some kind of agreement. Now, this agreement obviously would have impact not just only on trade, but on the supply chains, on our development partnerships, on connectivity, and many other things. And here, Germany is not just only important for trade and technology. They are also very important partner for India as far as India's green transition is concerned. Now, Germany has its own ambitious program, also a very certain difficulty they are facing there. India's green transition is different. But if you look at all their development projects in the last 10, 15 years, or the kind of projects they are hoping to implement in India, Germany is India's major development partner as well. So large number of them are in the renewables and in the climate sector area. And how, in fact, the sustainable urbanization, sustainable sanitation, all these areas, we are, our organization, institutions are working with Germany. And it's not just only bilateral. In fact, if you look at even the triangular cooperation project, we are also working with Germany in those projects, development projects in certain countries in Africa and also in Latin America. So it means, technology, and also, they are also an important partner for India's green hydrogen, whatever ambitions we have. They are also trying to work together. So, FTA, of course, is very important, but more than FTA, that can give a certain momentum, but, all other areas, in the climate area and the development sector, and I think we are in a large number of areas in which we are working, and the agreement.
Let me take across that point on the green technologies. We all know Germany is a global leader in this sector. Ambassador, how is India leveraging this partnership with Germany to meet our climate and energy transition?
So while some countries are totally debunking the green agenda, it is very evident that India and Germany stand together to implement their green agenda together. And so far, the strategic part of India-German partnership has actually been green, whether it's the sustainability partnership, renewables partnership, and many others. But you also asked a question about where do I see maximum business? And here I would point to green hydrogen. Green hydrogen was a roadmap of cooperation. Today, we are having the right to sell to German industry in Europe in the marketplace. So, this transition from a government to government understanding to a business arrangement for green hydrogen and green ammonia, to me, is the most significant business development mentioned in these agreements. The other aspect is that a large amount of German grant comes in. And most of the JDIs that you see, whether on innovation, opening centers of excellence, whether it is metros and other things, these are all government spending. These are not private spending. Unlike Japan, German companies don't leverage the aid, the ODA, to do business. That is the difference in model. So we have to get better joint ventures to leverage business opportunities emanating, say, out of more metros in India by producing locomotives and coaches in India on areas like battery. Now, battery, I think, is another area where much has been spoken this time and could have important commercial fallouts.
Right.
The green partnership is leading to battery utilization for EVs, and therefore there is a semiconductor and critical mineral partnership. It is also going to lead to the charging industry and most of all to the recycling industry. So this is where technology and commerce are finding ways to base themselves on the comprehensive partnership and take it to fruition in the world of business.
Okay, Professor, another aspect which featured prominently during the discussions and about which the Foreign Secretary also highlighted during the press conference was skill development and mobility. How crucial are these to addressing the advantage that India has of demographic dividend and of the shortage, labor shortage that Germany and a lot of countries in the West have?
And I think this is the, another big story which really have to be noticed. Now, what has happened is, earlier we were looking mobility as part of India-EU FTA. Now, the kind of political economy, the kind of politics now we have in the European countries, obviously, and in fact, the competency in this area is not really with the European Union. This is more with the member states. So what we have done in the last few years, we have signed mobility agreement with the specific member states of the European Union. And Germany, we signed 3 years back. And this has been one of the very successful, I would say, mobility agreement, which has been signed. And, there is also pressure, in fact, from the United States. A lot of students, those who are going to United States, now they are they are looking for new alternatives. And Germany could become a very important alternative for them. In fact, already there are 60,000 students there. Germany is also inviting Indian high-skilled professionals to many areas, and they are welcoming them, and they are doing perhaps very well in whichever area they are working. So mobility and migration, already there is a quite significant, I would say, diaspora in Germany, about 2.5 lakh people already there. So this is one area which is not really part of FTA, but bilaterally we have been doing very well with Germany, and I think the same model can be replicated if it is successful here in some other countries as well. France is also trying to do the same. It is also happening in Italy. So this is one area in which we have really identified that mobility, and of course Europe, because of the demographic situation in Europe, they obviously are looking people from outside, and Indian migration has been welcome in almost all countries. That has been very successful.
Okay, as we wrap up the conversation, Ambassador, how does Germany fit into the Indo-Pacific strategy, the economic security strategy, given the complexities in the current geopolitics, and also to looking at the road ahead. This was about 25 years of strategic partnership. We've seen leaders of both countries review the entire gamut of relationship and talk about elevating this partnership. And in that context, we've seen a whole range of agreements that have been signed. What do you think will be the most defining pillar of India-Germany partnership in the next 25 years?
So, the German approach to the Indo-Pacific is functional, not strategic. Their Indo-Pacific guidelines are like that. It is the India strategy paper of last year which is strategic and which says India plays a strategic role in their Indo-Pacific policy. So, the overall Indo-Pacific policy of Germany is not strategic. India's role in it is strategic. And there is where what we have talked today about defense, innovation, engagement, defense production, all these things come into play. Now, unlike France or the UK, which are far more potent Indo-Pacific powers, Germany is a small Indo-Pacific power. And neither is their military or navy that big that they can, play a sustainable role. But it is their intent which has to be valued. Now, in India's Indo-Pacific Oceans Initiative, Germany has stepped forward to be the co-chair with India for the maritime security capacity building pillar. Now, this is both strategic and capacity building. I think we to take this forward, as Gulshan has already mentioned that we are doing triangular cooperation in Africa and Latin America, we should remember that Germany is a development partner of ASEAN, of which India is a dialogue partner. India and Germany should find that the things that we do together here or elsewhere, we should also try and do in ASEAN and therefore augment our role in the Indo-Pacific together. I see Germany as a very important partner in the next 25 years, and I think very soon the strategic partnership will be reclassified as a comprehensive strategic partnership.
Absolutely. The manner in which the relationship between both countries has evolved, as both leaders highlighted today that India and Germany are natural partners. The manner in which both sides have been elevating their partnership, expanding cooperation across sectors, showcases how they are now also necessary partners in the interest of both their peoples. With that, we'll have to wrap up the conversation. Thank you once again, Ambassador and Professor, for joining us with your insights and views about how significant this visit of the German Chancellor to India has been. To you viewers, thank you very much for your time as well.
To watch more programs of Sansad TV, subscribe to our YouTube channel and don't forget to like and share them.